today what I'm going to talk about is called the general adaptation syndrome. I'm not sure. Anybody knows what general adaptation syndrome is? Anybody's heard of general adaptation syndrome? Okay, so general adaptation syndrome is essentially a three-stage response that our body has to stress. Our body, so all of us are going through stress all the time. We experience a plethora of inputs from our environment all the time, and there's usually an overlap of feelings, thoughts, emotions, and activities that we need to do. And what happens in this process is that our body experiences a huge amount of physiological stress as well as psychological stress. And research has found that there are physical responses to stress which are shown in our body, which basically includes the physical exertion, a lot of toxins in our body that get created, etc., etc. Now, according to the general adaptation syndrome, there are three stages to stress. The first stage is the alarm stage. Now, when we are going through something in our life and there's all of a sudden a lot of input from the environment, there are a lot of triggers, there's a lot of stimuli that comes around us, which increases our level of stress. Say we have to deliver a project, there's a timeline, etc. What that distress does is that it sends a signal to a part of our brain which is called the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus is, pardon my French, not the best, but I wanted to use the word bitch, but it's not the most appropriate part of our brain, because what it does in turn is that it triggers the release of cortisol in our body, which is essentially a stress hormone. Now, what this stress hormone in turn does is that it increases our heart rate, and thereon our blood pressure, and it also increases our blood sugar level. Now, this is the first physiological response that our body experiences to stress. However, the good news is that our body has a fantastic immune system, and every human being's autonomic nervous system quickly gets into this alarm stage and gets into a response of fight or flight, and starts to deal with this increase of blood pressure, increase of heart rate, increase of blood sugar levels. And that's when we enter the resistance stage. The resistance stage is when the physiological changes that have happened because of the alarm stage begin to calm down our autonomic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. They start to act out. The body starts to manage or reduce the amount of cortisol that is being produced, our heart rate, etc., starts to become normal. However, if the stressor remains, the body will stay in this state of resistance or alert for a very long period of time, despite the fact that it will not be spiking. Now, this is something that we see the most as a psychologist. One of the most important things that we see in people is people are stuck in this resistance stage. Now, the window period for this resistance stage can be 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, or 10 years or 20 years, depending on of course, the external stressors and what we are doing to manage it. Very often, what we do is we take short breaks. We try to find time out. We do small things that help us to deal with all the stress and tension that is going on in our body, and eventually this resistance phase continues. However, if we don't make a significant or a more permanent change in dealing with our external stressors and our internal coping, we don't regulate our emotions, we don't talk about how we are feeling, or we don't proactively engage in taking care of our body and our mind, that leaves us to what is known as the exhaustion stage. And what the exhaustion stage does is that exhaustion stage makes a person experience what is called depression, anxiety, inability to cope, further developing relationship issues, performance issues, productivity concerns, etc. Now, a lot of people ask us that what happened? Why did the pandemic all of a sudden trigger this huge influx of mental health concerns, in the world? And one of the possible explanations for that is that we were all in that resistance stage. A huge number of us were in that resistance stage where we were doing small little things, small little activities to keep ourselves from sort of slipping under. And eventually, when the lockdowns happened and our external, external gateways to dealing with our stress were blocked or choked, and it required us to look inside and actually deal with stuff, we started to reach the exhaustion stage. Our mind and our body lost its capability and capacity to, to manage our emotions, the physiological changes, which is why a lot of health issues started, a lot of psychological and mental health related concerns started. So Yuvnashva has told me that there is 1 more minute to go. And with that, I conclude with what the general adaptation syndrome is. And I invite maybe 2 questions for anyone who may have any question about this.
Thank you, Astha. So, like Astha said, can we have a quick couple of questions? And I'm sorry, Astha, for cutting you short, but
no worries.
You do have to be on the time.
Absolutely.
So, couple of questions, please. Saloni has one. Yes.
So, Astha, excellent nugget. And you mostly talked about the bad stress. What about the good stress? How does that fit into this syndrome?
So the resistance phase is where the good and the bad stress, this thing, unfortunately, and I'm saying this as a mental health professional, and I'm going to try and say this in the most polite way possible. We have created ideas and notions around stress being good. Physiologically, it's not good for our body. We don't need to experience stress in order to be motivated. Yes, there's enough amount of research that says that stress is very good. It motivates you, it pushes you. But that is, that has proven over a period of time, especially in the last 2.5 years, to fall flat on its face. That it's not the healthiest way to move forward. What we need for motivation is more intrinsic, more involved, more engaged way of moving forward. Because if we are in the resistance stage for a very long period of time, and of course we all have wonderful coping skills and very we're very proactive like that, most of us, it will take us for a long period, but then the slip or the fall will be even harder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well said. Yeah, please.
See, it was wonderful to hear you, but see, many times you find a number of people having, very, very great amount of mood swings, Their moods keep on changing very fast, in spite of the fact that they do have, a lot of intrinsic motivation. But still, you find them on a very different platform day. And it's very difficult to call these people have different mood swings, So what is your advice to handle all these kind of people, or what is the reason that the mood swings are so high? Thank you.
That's a very, very interesting, question. So mood swings, our mood is a result of our, daily experiences. Our mood is a result of what we are experiencing on a very regular basis. And again, if there are unaddressed things in our life, things that we haven't looked into, things that we haven't addressed, they will very subconsciously trigger our mood without us even knowing. It's like saying कि मेरी immunity बहुत low है. I have a very low immunity, physical immunity. So zara sa bhi, if I step out in the cold or if I go into a dusty situation, I'll catch a cold or I'll fall ill. Similarly, if my emotional immunity is low, if I haven't worked on building my emotional resilience, very small things will very quickly impact me and change my mood. There are 3 things that we recommend for anybody and everybody who wants to work on their stress or who wants to really take care of their emotional health and mental health. One is self-care. Self-care is not just restricted to going to parlors and spas and getting massages and face packs done. Self-care is also about eating well, exercising, taking care of your health, and essentially contributing, positively to your own self. The second thing is discipline. Maintaining discipline and having an objectivity about what I want in life and what I want from life, being constructively engaged with it is very, very important. And the third is joy. We have gotten into a habit of waiting for joy to come into our lives, waiting for good and positive things to happen to us, and we don't proactively contribute to them. So what is important is to ensure that I'm consciously, proactively contributing to my joy. Those are 3 very basic tools and techniques, and I hope all of you follow them, especially creating joy. We can't wait for good things to happen to us. We have to ensure that we make them happen for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.